Hey everybody, Canadian Operator here, and today we are on my beautiful workbench because this is where I do most of my maintenance and firearms cleaning, and I wanted to take a few moments to put a video together for you just to introduce you to some of the different products that I personally use. Now, I'm not affiliated with any of these whatsoever, but of course I do have my Amazon links down below, so if you find that you'd like to try something new, or maybe you're already using one of these products and just want to order some more for yourself, it would really help me out a lot by you using those links down in the description below. It doesn't cost anything extra for you, but it really does help the channel. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about a couple of different categories here. First of all, we're going to be talking about cleaning, so general firearm cleanliness and basically what kind of tools and items you should have at your disposal for a good clean. And then of course we'll also be talking about maintenance. So those are going to be the two main topics that we're going to be talking about. A lot of my cleaning stuff is going to be over here, so we're going to talk about things like solvents and bore cleaners and oils and things like that. We've got a lot of patches here. A lot of my extra stuff is here. It's a little disorganized, so pardon me for that. Now we do also have some of these Otis kits up here. We'll talk about those as well. Again, not sponsored by any of these guys, but I just find them to be extremely helpful and useful. And then we've got some tools down here, and then most of the other stuff is going to be down below the workbench. So we'll go ahead and pan back down and we'll start with the cleaning side of things. First and foremost, everybody needs a really good general gun cleaner, degreaser, and basically this one is it for me. Now, I've used a few different kinds, but this is the one that I stuck with the most. This was actually picked up at my local gun store, and I should mention, if you don't see all the links for all the products, it's probably because either they're no longer available or there's a different version of them available. So I'll try my best to link to all of the products as best as I can. However, some of these, like this one for example, I had to pick up at my local gun store, so you might need to just check with your local retailer and see what they have. Now, this one's from Lucas, and there is going to be some other stuff from Lucas in the video just because they happen to make some pretty good stuff. This one is just a heavy-duty general purpose gun cleaner. Gets rid of stuff like residue, oils, and most kinds of grime, carbon, and stuff like that. And what's really cool is that this is actually just an aerosol, so you just kind of spray it on whatever you want to clean. So if you got like bolts and different types of things within your action, you can very easily clean it by just putting it on some paper towel and just giving it a spray. So the really nice thing about this is that it pretty much cleans on contact, which is great. I have this big fat brush that I use for cleaning the inside of the receiver of my Tavor. It's just this big brush. It's almost the size of this can, and I always had a really hard time cleaning it. Now all I do is I just spray the brush with this stuff over the toilet, and all of it just comes off. It's actually quite nice. One of the other reasons why I really like this, and I'll see if I can get a little closer here without it getting too dark for you, is that this is polymer safe as well. That's really important because a lot of our firearms these days are made of polymers, and you do want to make sure that you don't damage that in any way, because of course it's going to be very expensive to replace any kind of polymer part, especially if it's just a uni stock or something like that, where it's just one piece, then yeah, you're going to have basically an issue with that. So you do want to make sure that you're using chemicals that are safe, but also effective, and I found that this one in general is actually quite nice. Moving right along, we've got the Lucas bore cleaner here. As I mentioned, there are going to be other Lucas products. This is really just the only other one in the video here, but the bore cleaner is nice, and not to say that this doesn't work for cleaning your bore. It certainly does, and for most of my firearms I actually almost exclusively use this. Ever since I started buying this, I haven't really been buying a lot of this. This has lasted me literally months, so it doesn't look like it's a lot, but it will last you a long time. And of course that depends on how much you use it. But this is in liquid form, and that is going to be aerosol, so that is one difference. And I'm not sure if that by itself makes it stronger, or whether this is just more concentrated or has different types of chemicals in it, but most definitely it is stronger. And of course that is because it is specifically a bore cleaner. So especially if you're shooting guns that are maybe a little bit dirtier, you're fouling up your barrel a little bit more often, then this is probably something that you might want to use. And it's quite easy. I mean, you can get a little bit of that soak going by maybe just using an eyedropper with this and putting a few drops into your barrel. But then of course you can also use some patches, and I'll show you later in the video what that looks like. I tend to usually, especially with super grimy bores, I just dip a patch in this, maybe just a few drops of it. I run it through, I run a brush through, and then I I run a nice clean patch through, and that typically loosens up all the grime and carbon and all that other crap that's in there. Now, that being said, this is not polymer safe. At least it's not advertised to be, and I haven't tried. So do be very careful with that. I do think that this is definitely a lot stronger, given that it's a board cleaner as opposed to a general purpose cleaner like the aerosol there. So definitely keep that in mind, because you don't want to mess up your polymers, because that's going to be pretty expensive to replace a stock or maybe even just a regular polymer part that you happen to get some of this on. So something to keep in mind, but this has been very, very helpful in those situations with dirtier than average bores, and it's done a pretty good job for me. Also, again, it lasted me quite a long time, especially if you're using it sparingly with some patches. Okay, so we're going to move right along to some CLP here. Now, of course, cleaning, lubricating, and protecting your firearms is very important to make sure that they have a nice long lifespan. And of course, we've already taken care of the clean part with those two products there from Lucas. Now this one, I think this is just a break-free CLP, and you'll have to excuse that this is a little dark. I think just because I have some direct sunlight that comes in on my workbench, this label has some serious UV damage to it. So it'll probably not look like this if it's brand new. I think it's like an orange label or something like that. But in any case, it's my preferred oil. Now there is also Hoppe's number 9, which is also quite good, and I'll link to that down in the description as well. I've used both. I just find that I can find this one a little bit more often, at least in my area. That might be a little bit different for you. And yeah, very capable oil, very good for, of course, just lubricating all of your moving parts, your bolts, your locking lugs, anything that's sliding on another piece of metal. This is really good for that. And of course, it's great to just be able to put this on a patch and run it through your bore as well. Sometimes I find that these products do a really good job breaking stuff up, but then I also end up pulling up a little bit more grime by just running a little bit of oil through as well. So something to keep in mind. You will need some oil anyway. Of course, it's a crucial part of making sure that your firearms are working correctly, and the break-free CLP as well as Hoppe's number 9 as a honorable mention, both pretty good to use for that. So I'll make sure to link those down below, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next part of my cleaning regimen. Okay, so this is going to cause probably a little bit of controversy. It's not intended to, and listen, at the end of the day, it's your firearm, it's your passion or your hobby or your lifestyle, and you do whatever makes you happy. But I know that there's going to be a lot of divisiveness, whether you should be using a bore snake or something similar that's included in this Otis Patriot Series kit, or whether you should be using something a little bit more rigid like a bar or something like that, or but it's definitely going to be up to you. But for me, I really like these little kits because, one, I can literally just hang them up on my pegboard, so I have them very easily accessible. They're also quite small, and all the stuff that's included is on the back here. So if you'd like to pause the video here so you can read what's on the back, there's a lot of good stuff that's included here, and all of them pretty much come with basically the same thing. Some of the outliers being maybe some of the larger caliber ones that come with slightly bigger patches, and I'll show you what those look like in a minute. And then of course the shotgun one as well, the 12 gauge and so on, that they come with these little rubber spacers that allow you to basically stretch out the patch over the circumference of the inner bore when you're cleaning your shotgun. Nevertheless, this one is for 223 or 556. They're both pretty much the same as far as the bore is concerned. I'm going to try to open this up without anything popping out, and you kind of see that we do have, well, I didn't take that patch off. I think that's a clean patch from my previous take of the video that I was doing just a few days ago. But this is going to be basically your way of cleaning it. So if I want to put this down for a second, because these are parts that I'm sure you've probably seen in other cleaning kits, but I want to show you what this looks like. This is actually quite interesting.
A few moments later.
So I'm not sure if you're able to see, but there's these little slits here. There's one there, there's one here, and then there's another one right there. And kind of the gist of these is that they're reusable patches. I don't really completely subscribe to that because, of course, once the patch is dirty, you don't want to constantly be running it through your bore. It's kind of part of their marketing. But what's the way you kind of do this, let me see if I can just open this up for you to kind of show you. So the way that you do this is obviously the end that you're going to be dragging through your bore. So you're going to put one end in through there just like that. You're going to pinch, right? And then you're going to put that through the middle and then just pull. And then you just kind of pull the other underside over top, and then you eventually get something that looks like that. Now, the reason why this is really, really good is if you picture that this is a bore and you're pulling through, you see that it'll touch basically all the inside of the bore. Now, obviously, bore snakes do very much the same thing. If you have cleaning rods and you have, patches on cleaning rods, they'll do something similar. The difference between regular patches, though, and these is that these kind of come out in a cone, as you can see there. So in my experience, these have actually been really, really good in comparison to just using regular patches for being able to pull through and get a nice clean. Now, again, this is kind of like an all-in-one system. I'll just kind of put it here for now. You do get a bunch of other stuff here, which I'll show you just briefly. We're not going to go through all of it. You've got a nice bore brush in there. You get a bore mop as well. You do get a chamber brush as well, which is nice. You get a little handle. And one thing that I don't have in here that you do also get is a nice polymer brush for scrubbing stuff away. So this is really nice. I like these, again, just because they store very easily. I can travel with these. They're quite light, and they have everything that I need in order to clean a variety of different firearms. And in fact, if you saw earlier in the video, I have one for a few other calibers as well. I have a 30 caliber one. I have one for my 12 gauge and also for 22 and 17 caliber as well. So these are super, super useful. They are a little bit on the expensive side, but I think they're totally worth it. All right, so moving right along to maintenance, this is going to be one thing that I think I would recommend for pretty much anybody who owns a firearm. And the reason for that is because oftentimes you will have to take your firearm apart either for cleaning or for upgrades or other types of maintenance, and having a pin punch set like this is very, very useful. Now, of course, you can use this in other applications as well, but this one was specifically made with firearms in mind. You get a pretty small hammer here. This is nothing too big, but the really cool thing about this is that you do have these pieces at the end that you can just unscrew and replace, and you do get some replacement pieces with this as well. I believe at least one other replacement piece just in case these kind of wear out. The nice thing about this is that you've got plastic on one side and rubber on the other, so when you're hitting, if you got a swing and a miss, you're not going to damage your firearm, at least if you're not swinging very hard, which you really shouldn't be. Taking pins out is relatively easy, but it's easy with the right tools. If you've got a bigger hammer and you're using something like a screwdriver to take out a pin, that's probably going to cause some damage. Now, the pins themselves are pretty small, but they do come in a variety of different sizes there, as you can see. And these ones are actually really nicely designed. They're all metal from front to back. The grip here is pretty substantial, so you've got a nice solid grip. It's not going to slip out of your hands. And what I actually really like, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see right there on the top, but that is a little piece of rubber there on the top. So that's going to also protect your pins as well from any kind of damage. Now, there's a variety of different sizes available here. I'll make sure to link this just as well as everything else. However, if it's not available, you might look at other brands. This is a very kind of generic item, so you don't need any kind of brand loyalty per se, but you definitely should have a punch set like this for your firearm maintenance and cleaning needs, because it's absolutely essential. I actually didn't think I needed one of these until I was taking apart my Ruger 1022 and replacing the trigger and doing my regular maintenance on it, and I was very happy to have purchased one of these kits. All right, so now we're going to be talking about something that'll be very useful for you if you are a optic aficionado, or perhaps you just like putting a lot of cool shit on your guns. This is the Fat Wrench by Wheeler, and it is an electronic torque wrench, which is very, very nice. But what's nicer is that this is specifically designed with gunsmithing in mind. You do, of course, get the wrench, which we'll put on the side for now, and you do get some other bits here, as you can see, which are very common in gunsmithing or just general gun maintenance. Now, the wrench itself is very hefty. I've got some pretty large hands, and that fits in there real nice. It's not going to slip because you've got rubber pretty much all the way around, a nice rubberized grip. And I do like the yellow color. It does kind of make it stand out in dark places and makes it pretty easy to find, especially for my blind ass. Now, on the back, we've got a minus and a plus button. We have a button for the power right in the middle there. You've got a unit button and a mode button as well. The units, you're going to be looking at Newton meters and inch pounds. I do believe there's one other one in there that I never used. So there's 3 modes in total, or 3 units in total. And then you've got 2 modes in total as well. You've got a peak mode and a linear mode. And once you set up the spec that you want to go up to, let's say 30 inch pounds, which is very common for the mounts for your scope, even if you're not directly looking at this and you're, turning away, you're going to get a little audible beep from this to let you know when you're close and when you should stop turning. That is very, very valuable, and I would very much recommend it. Even if you don't have firearms and you're looking to get a nice solid torque wrench that folds up and kind of stows away in a very small footprint, this is really, really good. Now, fellas, this is a wife-friendly channel, as many of you I'm sure are very well familiar with already, so we're not going to be talking about the price, but I will make sure to leave the link down below, so go and check it out if this sounds like something you could use. So if you thought the fat wrench was pretty cool, let's talk about this. This is a bit set. It's from the same company, Wheeler, and again, fellas, we're not going to be discussing the price. It is definitely on the pricier side, but the construction quality of these bits is really, really good. And it does have a bit of a firearm focus as well, with many of these bits working with that wrench. This is why I would also recommend to grab this if you are grabbing the wrench. Again, if you can afford it, because these can be a little bit pricey. But looking inside, we have a number of different bits here. We got the bigger bits on the top, we've got the smaller ones on the bottom, and then we have a larger and a smaller handle respectively. So this actually works as a standalone kit as well, if you don't already have a collection of bits at your disposal. Now, some of the larger bits here, we've got basically hex on the top and in the middle, and we've got some flatheads on the side and some Phillips as well. Now, with the hex, you do get both imperial and metric, which is really nice. And then down here, we do also get some Torx. We have a collection of smaller ones here for smaller or more delicate screws. And then, of course, we have a nice legend here on the top to show us what everything is. What's really cool is that these actually work with the fat wrench. They fit perfectly in, so it gives you a lot more options for being able to torque things down and fix stuff, whether it's firearms or otherwise. Okay, so we're finally on the last Wheeler product, and really the last product in this video. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, by the way, please leave a like and let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for making it this far into the video. I really appreciate you. So let's go ahead and talk about this. This is another product from Wheeler, and much like the first two, it's definitely going to be a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind. It's also not for everybody, and I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, much like I would recommend these two items, or really anything else on this list, because this is a very specific and niche product for very specific people. Mostly for people that are reviewers, whether you're writing blogs or making videos like me, maybe you're a gunsmith and you like fixing stuff up, or you're just doing a whole lot of trigger work. This is going to be probably very useful to you, and that is going to be a trigger gauge. And this one is a really nice one, actually. Basically, it's an electronic unit here. We've got a battery that goes in, and we have this thing that pops up. This is going to be your trigger gauge right there. And then you can just go ahead and turn it on just like that. I'm not going to go through the full suite of this. If you do want a little bit more of an explanation video of this particular product or anything else that you've seen here, do let me know. I know that we do have some videos coming up with respect to cleaning, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, this is really going to be very useful if you're doing a lot of trigger work, if you're a gunsmith, or again, if you're doing a lot of gun reviews and stuff, and you just want to know how hard the trigger is. Now, there's a couple of modes here. There's going to be a linear and a peak mode as well. You've got some memory in here, as well as being able to just reset it and start all over again whenever you want. It does run on batteries. That could be a plus or a minus depending on whether you like batteries or not, I guess. But it does come in this nice little case. And I almost forgot to mention that we do get an extra little piece right there that you can attach for different shaped triggers. So definitely really nice to have. Again, it's not for everybody, but if you can spend the money and you want to have something that will measure your trigger pull quite regularly and very accurately, then this is a really good thing to pick up. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. I hope you found the video helpful, and I hope that at least one of these items has helped you out in your firearms journey. If it has, please remember to leave a like, because that lets me and the corporate overlords over at YouTube know that you enjoy my content, and I would really appreciate that. Of course, if you want to have a chat or just have any questions or want to add something that I may have missed or have your own favorite products, you can, of course, leave those down in the comments or come on over to our Discord. We have a really awesome community Discord with gun lovers from all over the world. Link for that will be down below. Also down below are going to be my Amazon affiliate links for all of these products. And if you find any of these very helpful or you want to pick something up, please do use those links, as they help the channel immensely without any additional cost to you. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. And until then, happy shooting.